Tim's RV Tips here with a progress report of how we're doing here. It's about April 3rd here, closed in by the pandemic, but that's okay. I got plenty of work to do. So I've made a lot of progress here. I'm going to show you this new advanced RV system to be installed in my Sprinter van. So here goes. So the major breakthrough here is that we are now charging off of 220 volts. Here our pack current is 10 amps, and I'm going to show you how to ramp that up to many more amps so we can get 6 kilowatts of charge through this charger. Here's the charger. It's the 6.6 UHF Elcon charger. Gets fans going. Communicating using CAN bus here. The Orion BMS is sending commands through the CAN bus to the charger, and then it's all being monitored here on the PC. Here's all our equipment. Here's the workbench. I don't have a lot of room, so it is kind of cramped. And here's the electronics box. As you can see here, we got 220 volts here, and all the relays that control this. We've got 220 volts coming in. I'll show you the workbench here. Here's this is called Glendinning products. So this is a 50 amp cord reel, and it's relatively small for what you might do with a large cord reel. As you can see here, it's coming out it's very easy to deploy. Coming out of this hole here, it goes outside to my RV plug, and like I say, we have 50 volts, 50 amps coming in here. What I've created here is 4 buses. So we have a neutral bus, line 1 and 2 buses, as well as a ground bus. And everything's labeled. In this industrial design, everything gets a label. All relays here are labeled as to the destination. My lesson learned is to always put the destination of the wire in. And these are carrying up to 50 amps. I've got these protection relays here that ensure that I'm getting the proper voltage into the system. Also have mounted up here automatic transfer switches. Now these are from China, but they are cheap, less than $50, and they do a good job at transferring power. So I'll turn this one on. Let's see what happens. As you can see there, they both are operating because they've gotten their normal power here, and what I call normal power is from the line, from the house RV current. When we go on inverter, they will switch over. Likewise, the back of our panel is being wired up here. And if you go around to the front, everything's labeled. So what I'm going to do here is change some parameters here in the Orion BMS system. I'm going to make this maximum current. I'm going to bring this up to 30 amps. This will make us generate about 6.6 kilowatts. And so I have to raise all of these the appropriate amount. So we'll bring these up to 30 as well. Maximum amps while charging, I'll say 30. And it will stop when the SOC reaches 80%. From here, we just send this profile to the BMS. And this should be what I call the smoke test. So it turned off the relays, sending the profile. Here, as you can see, it's loading up, sending the new profile, new charge limits to the BMS. Okay, this may take a few seconds. As you can see, we're up at 30 amps here. The pack current is 30 amps. I'm going to see how long this will, it's able to do this. Make sure nothing overheats. So here we are. So the plug here is plugged into a 50 amp 220 volt source, goes through the cord reel, and then goes through a couple of circuit breakers here as shown. And what I'm getting to is the logic of this circuit. So the problem is with North America standards, you have two 125 volt or 120 volt legs, which equals 220. I guess I downscaled a little bit. But I've created two buses here, and then that bus goes into this logic circuit right here. The protection relay determines whether I have 220 volts. And if it does, it energizes this relay, which allows me to introduce true 220 volt voltage into the system. And if it doesn't, it's only 125 volt I can charge with at 30 amps. So regardless of whether it's 120 volts or 220 volts, that voltage gets fed via the 6 gauge, actually it's an 8 gauge wire, up into K1, which then feeds the charger. And that is also controlled, K1 is controlled by the main charge enable, which is fed by the BMS, and that is K8A, which is shown here. And now for something completely different. Now inside the van, the insulation is pretty much done. I've created a stud wall for our door. So I have a little door going from the cab to the living area, and going to enclose it with some 16th inch plywood, and it's going to be stained. It's going to look pretty nice. Also, I'm going to be doing a treatment to the door. It's going to have a half moon shape in it, a half moon window, double paned acrylic glass. I'd like to leave this episode of Tim's RV Tips with a little irony. Here's a quote. Our microscopic allies began to work their overthrow. By the toll of 1 billion deaths, man has brought his birthright of the earth. H.G. Wells, War of the Worlds. Stay safe out there, and stay sane. Tim's RV Tips signing off, and hit that subscribe button. Thank you.